All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Marikai Mind Podcast. I'm your host, Noel McCatchy, and today we are talking about self-limiting beliefs. Yes, self-limiting beliefs because they kill far more dreams than failure ever could. They are the insidious restraints that keep many from ever trying. Failure doesn't even get the opportunity in most cases, sadly. Beliefs are really just what thoughts and actions are made of. On this most simplest level, that's what thoughts and actions are made of. They can serve us or they can limit us. However, we have the power to decide our beliefs. We're able to replace toxic, self-limiting beliefs with those that truly empower us. And to be the best versions of ourselves, we need the right beliefs to get there. So, where do these beliefs come from? To do something about these beliefs, we need to understand where they come from and be aware that they exist in the first place. So some are handed down to us through our upbringing, while others come from our experiences. Advertising and media are also additional sources that influence our beliefs. We can't choose our upbringing, and we don't always have the ability to decide our experiences either. Some experiences, like having a learning disability or the country that you were born in, is chosen for you. But we can choose, though, how we process these experiences. That's where our power is. So, let me tell you about my experience with self-limiting beliefs and why I think this is such an important topic because I've experienced the cost firsthand of self-limiting beliefs early on in life. So let me tell you my story. So I'm dyslexic, and when I was growing up, I struggled to keep up in school with my classmates. I saw myself falling behind, and what came easily to them was a challenge for me to grasp. At least initially it was. And from this experience, I developed the belief that school just wasn't for me. I thought I was simply just not smart enough. And this belief became a major obstacle for me in life. It kept me from giving my full effort at school or learning in any sense. And this action just reaffirmed the belief that I wasn't smart. So it just got stronger with time. I avoided the challenge of learning because I assumed I would just fail at it. Now, that's because my actions aligned with my beliefs. And this is why self limiting beliefs can be so difficult to shake. Our actions create evidence that support our beliefs, and our actions are based on our beliefs. So, most people aren't even aware that their beliefs are limiting. They just think, oh, that's reality. And it's a dangerous cycle, and it's hard to get out of that. It wasn't until I developed a habit of self reflection through journaling that I began to realize that these beliefs I had just weren't true. My new belief that I replaced that with was that I'm capable of learning and I just need to work hard at it. And this belief became reality. I started to give learning my all after that. I began to succeed in college in my major as an engineer, and this was all because I developed study skills, confidence, and started to prepare myself for success. My new actions aligned with my new belief. And I even became a habitual reader. And which is kind of funny because in high school, if a teacher assigned some type of reading for us, the only thing I was picking up back then was Spark Notes, right? N- This was complete 360 from where I started. In high school, I was voted most likely to make a teacher retire because I was doing everything but learning while I was there. And now today, I'm obsessed with learning. It's a complete 360. And I went from fearing learning to embracing it. The only thing that sparked this evolution for me was a change of beliefs. So that's my story of why I think self-limiting beliefs are such an important thing to be aware of. And without being aware of them, we can't do anything about it. So that's my story. Let's now talk about the influence of media and advertisers on our beliefs. So, mainstream media programs us to want things we don't need and fear things that are irrelevant. They need us to feel as if there is something missing externally that could make us feel whole. And that's simply just not true. But this is just a product of the incentives where media and advertisers operate. Advertisers need to sell and they need your attention to sell to you. People buy things to fill an unmet need. So they're simply just doing their job. But how do they get your attention in the first place? Well, they hook your attention and they use your own basic human nature to do so. Our human nature evolved to help us survive in times well before advertisers existed. What kept our ancestors safe back then is being used to manipulate us now. Here are some tools in the media and advertisers toolbox: fear, anger, pride, greed, herd mentality, scarcity, and comparison, just to name a few. The constant presence of these insidious messages shapes our perspectives. They help mold our view of the world and what we believe about ourselves. But instead of focusing on the players, let's change the game. Let's focus on what we can control here, our beliefs and our environments. First, with our beliefs, we should constantly evaluate what our beliefs are, where they come from, and we can ditch the toxic ones and replace them with ones that truly serve us. To do this, we unpack the origin of our beliefs. Where do they come from? Through practices like journaling and self-reflection. Number two, our environments. So our environments are often set up for failure by default today. This gives advertisers and media ample access to our attention. So it takes intention to design an environment that protects us from intrusive influence. It's not practical to rid your life of advertisers completely, nor should you ever want to. There are products out there that improve our lives, and without marketing, we would be oblivious to their existence. The vast majority of marketing messages, though, are completely irrelevant to us. And there's many more advertisements for harmful products that we don't want in our lives at all. So it takes intentional action to cut through the noise and limit advertisers' access to your mind. Let me talk about my approach of how I do this. And it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You could take it or leave it or adjust it or adapt it to your life, what works for you. So let me start talking about the news. So I avoid watching the news at all, really. And the reason for this is the news often reports on developing stories. And the most efficient way to understand a story is to wait till it's finalized. This way, you avoid the speculation and you won't have your attention hijacked by each new development. Another thing is, statistics will show that the world we inhabit today is much safer than the world our ancestors inhabited. Murder rates in most developed countries are at an all-time low in the cities. But spend an evening watching the 6 o'clock news and you'll believe the world is burning down around you. Why is that? Well, it's because we have access to more information now than ever before at a fast rate. Information travels instantly. It used to take forever for information to travel from point A to point B, and now we have it in an instant. And we live in a world with 8 billion people. So every day, horrible things happen. The media just cherry picks the most captivating stories. And these stories are often captivating because they harbor or they foster emotions like fear and outrage in us. Naval once said, the goal of media is to make every problem your problem. Much of what is on the news is completely irrelevant to our lives. So that's exactly what they're doing, is making other people's problems our problems. But guess what? We don't need the news. There's other ways to get your information that is relevant to you without the emotional roller coaster. If you need to know the weather, you can check your weather app or you can ask Alexa, what's the weather? If an important event happens in the world that you need to know about, you can be sure that someone will let you know. You're not going to miss out on a thing, I promise, okay? Now let's talk about TV. So here's another thing I avoid, TV. So I avoid it, right? And if I do, I try to mute the commercials, and I definitely avoid leaving it on as a background noise. But hold up, guys. This wasn't always the case. I learned a lot of this the hard way. My first 2 years in college, I would leave the TV on while I studied. Yeah, believe it or not, that was me. And nowadays, I laugh at myself and say, oh, well, that guy was an idiot. Well, guess what, guys? I was that idiot. So let me tell you the story, though. I was interested in investing at the time. So I thought just maybe if I left CNBC on all day, I'd begin to understand the markets. Well, guess what? I was completely wrong. Surprise, right? Not only did I not understand the markets, but I also didn't understand what I was studying either. All I knew was I had Jim Cramer yapping in my ear all day, yap, 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 while I was trying to study. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. With my focus in 2 different directions, I was like a car spinning tires. But then once I started to put my focus on one thing, just what I was studying on, I was like a car driving down the highway. Once I learned, it was a completely different experience for me, and it started to unlock my full potential as in school and everything else. The constant chatter of the intrusive noises robbed me of my clarity. So that taught me to focus on one thing at a time, and also that I kind of laugh at myself because if I wanted to learn something like investing, I'm not going to learn it from just leaving the TV on. It's just going to like be like osmosis and like absorb into my brain. The way I learn a skill or something is by doing. I learn by doing or and applying and applying what I'm learning. So yeah, I constantly always laugh at myself for how I was back in the day because, it just seems so obvious to me now, but hindsight is 2020, right? Okay, well, let's talk about social media. We all deal with that. So another thing with social media, I limit my time on there and I try to have a clear intention for my use of it. I avoid mindlessly scrolling and using social media as a tool for personal comparison. But guess what? There's another thing I learned the hard way. I grew up in the times when social media was invented. MySpace was still a thing. Facebook was just being coming onto the scene. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And I've been guilty of using social media for all the wrong reasons. I learned though that social media is simply a tool and it's my responsibility to direct how I use it. This social media simply just amplifies who you are. I now approach social media with intention. I block out a period of time and I don't use it outside that time. When I do use it, I'm intentional about my purpose for using it. My feed is filled with inspiration and learning opportunities because I only engage with content that aligns with my goals. And it's so important to be intentional about what content you engage with because, like I said, it is a tool that will amplify who you are. Whatever content you engage with, you will just keep getting fed more and more of that. So if you engage with some negative content, it's not going to be good for you. You're just going to get more of that. And uh, that's probably not what you want. That's probably not content that will align with your goals and make your life better, right? So you have to be mindful of that. All right. Now let's talk about the internet. We can take some power back there as well. If you can use free tools like Brave browser or ad blocker browser extensions to allow yourself to bypass advertisements on there as well. But hold up, guys, the use of these tools can be controversial with some creators since they are a threat to their income. And if you have the budget, YouTube TV is a great way to avoid ads but still support creators at the same time. I use YouTube for meditation videos and focus music while I work. And I can tell you for sure that the last thing I want popping up during those periods is a Taco Bell commercial. Yeah, no way, right? So it's important to me that, when I'm listening to my meditation, that the only thing that's going on is that meditation or when I have my work music on, it's just work music. So that's my way of taking a little bit of power back and creating some clarity for me. But let's wrap this up. So by focusing on the two things we can control, our beliefs and our environments, we can take the power back. Let's avoid the chaos and be selective with what we allow into our lives. When we evaluate our beliefs through journaling and self-reflections, we can ensure that our beliefs serve us and gets one step closer to being the best version of ourselves. All right, that's all I got today. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys listening to that. And if you could do me one solid and just leave some reviews down below, that helps push the podcast to more people. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. Take care.